Hello YouTube. Welcome back to another episode of Shop Talk with Brett. Something a little bit different we're going to do today. There before you we have two Craftsman snowblowers. And today's video we're going to kind of do a then and now comparison. And we're going to talk about each unit. We're going to discuss it, compare them, and we're going to start them both up. Let's start with the old one on the left here. This is a 7 horsepower, 24-inch, 2-stage Craftsman snowblower, 14-inch impeller, and as you can see, it looks 1977, which I believe is the year this was made. And a far cry from today. That thing there probably weighs, I would say, a good 300 pounds. Every bit of it. But anyway, let's look at the augers and the buckets. Metal augers, you can see, with a pretty decent transmission in it and a pretty big diameter impeller as compared to this new Craftsman. The chute on this may not sit as high, but it's a lot wider, and that's all metal, all steel, heavy, and it's wide. It says 14-inch impeller. This is powered by a 7 horsepower Tecumseh engine. Tecumseh, as Terrell Fixes All would say. And no electric start. Not one bit. This is all rope. As you can see, that motor, that's a... I think when I cross the Craftsman number over onto this, I believe that's an HM70 Snow King type engine. And yeah, you can tell this machine's older. It's been rode hard and put away wet. It does start and run. But let's look at the controls on this. This has got a weird... You've got your traditional crank right here. As you can see when you rotate it, it does like your traditional snowblower. But you have this lever up on the handle here. You move that up or down, it does that. That's your pitch control for the chute. So that makes it nice. You're kind of behind the handles here to do everything. The speeds on this, it's this type of a gear setup. 4 forward speeds, 1 reverse. And right now it's in neutral. In order to make it go in reverse, you have to have that down, and at the same time you're holding that with your right hand, you pull it back for reverse, but it's momentary. It doesn't lock into reverse. And neutral, speeds 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that one lever actually controls both propulsion and the auger. But what they do, and unlike the newer ones, your throttle control is actually mounted on the dashboard. What they do for the auger, they've got this lever. If it's forward, the auger is turned off. So when you pull that down, depending on what gear you're going to go in, you got your propulsion. But if you kick this in, if you pull it back, that locks another little mechanism down there at the belts. So when you pull this, now the auger will go as well as the propulsion. So you kind of got one hand to do that stuff, and then I guess the idea behind it is the other hand, you could turn the crank and change the pitch of your height of where that's pitching the snow out. But anyway, this has solid rubber tires with chains, and instead of skid shoes on the front of this, it has these gauge wheels, and you can move those up and down. You take them off and put them into different holes. But anyway, sound level's a lot different too. Let's start this one up real quick here. This one can be a little bit contrary, but we're going to try it. Let's set the throttle at about midpoint. Let's put this on to choke, and let's give it a pull. This one's a lot harder to pull over too. And once he starts, we're in neutral, so let's kick the auger in here. You can hear it a little bit. As you can tell, that's by no means flat. That's just the shrouding and everything rattling on it. Okay, let's discuss the other one. Right here we have a 2019 Craftsman snowblower. 24-inch. They don't rate this in horsepower. This has I want to say the 208cc engine. It should say on the shroud. This has a Powermore engine. This machine was made by MTD, where this machine over here was made by Noma AMF for Craftsman. 1977, 2019. $208cc. They made two versions of this. They made a 179 and a 208. This engine on this machine is overhead valve. That over there, that's old school. That's an old L-head style engine. This new style is overhead valve, and the engine is very much like a Honda engine. It's Powermore engine, which is kind of exclusive to MTD, and that is actually who made this machine for Craftsman. It's a Craftsman branded machine, but it's MTD. Very similar to like a Troy-Bilt Storm 2410 or a 2420. It's the same layout. And as you can see right off the get-go, the metal on this, it's a lot thinner than the big one over here. And that one probably doesn't weigh, it's heavy, but it probably maybe weighs maybe 150 pounds as opposed to that one there that's 300 pounds. No tire chains on this. There's a pneumatic tires on this machine here. The chute control, you still have your crank, as you would, but to control the pitch of the chute, you have to loosen this wing nut, and then you have to manually set how high you want it to throw. Okay, let's look at the business end. Let's look behind the handlebars on this one. I just screwed up that last frame. This one does 6 speeds forward and 2 reverse. And as you can see on this, you have independent auger and drive controls. And I showed you the chute controls. You've got your chute crank, but to change the pitch of that, I showed you in the last clip, you have to loosen a wing nut and you manually set that chute. That's a plastic chute on that one versus steel on the old machine. Definitely a difference. This one does not have the feature where you can hold the auger, where you put the auger down, and if you engage the drive, you can let go of the auger and it would stay engaged. This does not have that. However, this has 6 forward speeds and 2 reverse. And it is not built quite as heavy. This is, but what it does have, where this machine shines versus this one, you actually have a 110 volt electric start on this one. And so we're going to do that real quick. You reach down here, and you can also see on this one, the engine throttle control is down on the engine right here. We're going to put it to about midpoint. We're going to turn the choke to choke. We're going to bump the primer a couple times. Then we're going to reach down here and hit the starter button. Then once it starts, and as you can hear, that machine only makes in comparison, that maybe only makes about half the sound that old one did. But and even if you have to start this one with a rope, it's not anywhere near as hard to pull that over as it is the big one. But the electric start does make it a feature. And on this one, there's a key on that one, but it doesn't work. I took it out of the circuit because the key switch itself went bad. I could kill that with the throttle. This one here, you can either kill it with the throttle or the typical MTD. You pull the key out of that. Put that back in. And of course, you see too, you get that little shovel they give you with that in the event you have to unclog the chute. This machine is not mine. This belongs to my cousin. I'm storing it for her during the, I always store it for her during the off season because she's just got a small garage. But we haven't gotten any snow yet this year, but I wanted to bring it out while I had it here and do this comparison video. So there you have it for our little that was then, this is now, you know, our little back in time video. Definitely a big difference in the quality of those machines, that's for sure. As you saw, that thing on the left there, that's, I believe if the number said right, I believe 1977. I bought it used about 20 years ago, and it was in pretty decent shape then. It cosmetically, it's a little bit rough, but it will eat through some snow. It actually goes through it quite well, even the slushy stuff. That one there, that's what we have today. The 2019 Craftsman MTD. That was made by AMF, Noma Murray. That one there was actually made by MTD. Both of them are good machines. They both have their pros, they have their cons. This machine here, having the solid rubber tires and the tire chains, you don't have to worry about a flat. And it gets up and gets it with those chains on it. The cons with this one, well, the biggest one right off the get-go is it's heavy. There's no electric start, and there's a lot of compression to that Tecumseh engine. And the only way you could really effectively move that is by self-propelling it. I mean, there are like a clevis pin down there on the wheels that you can remove and drive it that way. You could push it, but then you want it to propel, you got to put those back in it. Where this machine here will actually freewheel fairly easy. You could push that from place to place. Another con with this thing is you have the one control up there that's doing the drive and the auger. But what you gain here, you gain both rotation and pitch control for the chute, where over here you have rotation and you have to manually do the pitch down here. Another pro, you've got a metal chute on this one that it's a lot wider and it's steel and very thick. This one is plastic. But this can rust. This chute can't rust, but it's plastic. If it was cold enough and something got thrown through it the wrong way, it could chip it. This one here weighs about 300 pounds. Not the easiest thing if you're going to load it into the back of a vehicle. Your best, and then you'd have to run it up a ramp because, like I said, the only way this will truly travel is driving it. This one probably weighs about half of that, and it in its neutral gear, you can actually freewheel that fairly easily. Another con, like I said earlier, no electric start. And it's an L-head engine. That engine has a lot of compression, not for the faint at heart when you got to pull it over. This machine here, 208cc power more overhead valve engine, like a Honda engine, with electric start. A con over here, this machine is very loud. This machine here, maybe about half that volume. Both of them have torque. I believe this engine here would actually run a little bit cooler, you know, being an overhead valve. As you can see, we don't have any snow here, and we haven't really got any snow here yet this year to do a head-to-head snow blowing comparison. But I wanted to just show the difference between the two. And in lieu of that, I hope everybody is enjoying their day. Most importantly, keep your trust in the Lord. We'll talk on the next video. Shop Talk with Brett signing out. Stay good.